The paper that we won the award for is really trying to figure out how voters make sense of all of the questions that they're asked to answer. So when they get a ballot, it has lots of offices on it. There are places where even dog catcher is an elected office. And a person who is sitting down and trying to figure out how to fill in that ballot, who they want to vote for, is being asked to make a lot of choices. And you're not necessarily going to have campaign ads and media attention that tells you who you should vote for a local office, for dog catcher or town council or county commission. And so we want to know, how do voters make these decisions? And what we look at is whether voters, when they're making these decisions where they don't have much information, are likely to use shortcuts or cues that might disproportionately help or hurt people with certain characteristics. So, for example, if you are a candidate of color, and you can maybe tell that from a picture that you sent out on a direct mailing, or it's evident from your name, are voters going to use that little cue that they have about you to infer something about your competence or your capability as a candidate? And what we find is that, when voters are asked to make low information voting decisions, when they're asked to vote in an election where they really don't know much other than maybe the candidate's name on the ballot, these cues, like the candidate's race or ethnicity, do actually hurt candidates of color. So voters tend to vote less for candidates of color when they don't have very much information to go on. And this is especially problematic when they have more complex decisions to make. So maybe if they're being asked to vote in elections where there's lots of different seats that they have to vote for, that makes it a harder decision. And so they're looking for these shortcuts, and they find candidate race as a shortcut. But we find that when voters have more information, the effect of these shortcuts mostly goes away. And so although, let's say, a black candidate might be sort of negatively affected by the shortcuts that voters are taking when they don't have much information, if you give them just a little bit more information, maybe about that candidate's place of education, their previous office holding status, just a few little cues, then voters are much more likely to use that information to make their voting decision, and that negative effect for candidates of color is ameliorated. It kind of gets smaller.